MashaAllah, thank you so much yet again, Sayyid Haydar, for that beautiful recitation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome back once again to Hijab and Etiquette. Today, inshallah, we are going to be tackling a big question. Is the hijab, is the veil a source of oppression? Now, to the Muslim woman who wears this garment every single day, she is fiercely proud of it. She is protective over it and will do anything to fight and preserve this garment that we know and love so much. And yet, to the eyes of non-Muslims, to people of other religions and other cultures, this veil that we wear is the ultimate source, the ultimate symbol of oppression. Now, even some individuals, they even go to the extent of going up to a Muslim woman and tearing the scarf from their head in such a violent manner, because in their eyes, it is liberating that woman. We will be discussing this and a lot more with my beloved guest, Masuma Jafar. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
This is such a big issue that we're discussing today. I'm really looking forward to it, inshallah. I guess the first thing is, like, why are we as human beings so shallow? We will ignore a person's personalities, their qualities, their talents, the fact that they're a good human being and, you know, they're not doing anything wrong, and we'll just focus on the way that they look and the way that they dress. Like, what have human beings always been this shallow, or do you think this is just like a 21st century kind of thing?
The thing is, I think it's what we see. You don't see the character of the person, you don't see the personality of the person, you don't get to know the person until you start talking to them. So you see a person from afar and you make assumptions on them, whether they're rich, whether they're kind, and I don't know how what sort of person they are, whether they're educated, whether they're oppressed or not. All these assumptions are made dependent on what they look like, and it's literally judging a book by its cover.
Yes, yeah.
And it's quite sad, because you're not even looking inside, you're not getting to know the person at all. The best way to find out if someone's been oppressed is to actually ask them. If you feel that my hijab oppresses me, ask me why I wear it. And listen to what I'm telling you, and you'll hear that I'm not being oppressed. This is my decision, this is my choice. And a lot of the times, Muslim women, because they are so, because the hijab is so important to them, because it does free them, they will actually go against their husbands in order to wear it.
Which is a huge thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if they were being oppressed, then their husbands would be telling them what to do. And they say, no, this is my right as a Muslim woman to cover myself. And whether you like it or not, I will do it. Now, can you imagine a non-Muslim hearing a Muslim woman say that? But they'll only hear her if they ask her.
Yes.
Instead of assuming that she's been forced to wear this by some man in her life.
I don't know, like, I think because, like, many of us, we're very protective of our hijab, because to us it's not just a piece of cloth. I mean, me myself, this cloth is, for me, it's like a promise. Every day I put this on, it's a promise to my queens, my masters, Fatima Zahra alayha salam, Sayyida Zainab alayha salam. It's like I'm turning to them and I'm saying, this is my promise to you that I'm never going to forget you. I'm never going to forget what you stood for and what these individuals, what they did to you, the oppression that they faced. So, many of us, we're very sensitive about it, and, we're fiercely proud of it. But sometimes when non-Muslims, they try and talk to us about this, do you think sometimes we come across as a little bit, defensive, a bit aggressive sometimes?
I think it's more the fact that a lot of Muslim women don't understand why they wear it, and they feel that they have to. So whether it's from the way that they answer it. So it's like if someone comes and asks you, why do you wear that? oh, I have to because my religion tells me to. Now that, you know, as a non-Muslim hearing that, it's like, but you have the right to say no.
Yeah.
You know, you're a free person. So it's understanding that, you know, yes, your religion tells you to, but understanding that it's for my benefit, understanding that it is something I passionately want to do because I see the sense in it. So, you know, it's how we answer those questions as well is really, really important.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you have girls saying, oh, my parents tell me I have to wear this. Again, that sounds very oppressive.
Yeah. I think, like, definitely we should all take the time to sit and learn our religion properly. And this is regardless of whether, you know, we were born into a Muslim family or if we're a revert. I feel like we have that obligation on us.
For sure.
Because at the end of the day, you know, think of the first word that was revealed to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa ali, Iqra, read in the name of your Lord. Like that's what we need to do. And I guess just, you know, some people, they might turn around and be like, oh, but I'm not interested in religion, it's boring, I don't want to sit and listen to this sheikh in the majalis, I'm too busy to learn about what about hijab and why I should wear it and things like that. I've got school, I've got university, I've got work. Like, what would you say in response to someone who makes up these excuses?
I think first and foremost, the fact that in the Holy Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, you know, he actually condemns those people that follow the religion of their forefathers without thinking. So the fact that I'm born a Muslim is not enough. I can't just say, oh, I'm a Muslim because my parents were Muslims or because my forefathers were Muslims.
You have to choose it for yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So, you know, once you decide that this is a choice that you have made, then it's so much easier than to follow the religion. When you feel it's a choice that's been shoved on you, then you will rebel against it. So it's really important for parents to actually encourage their young children to understand why they're Muslims, to research. It's like I constantly tell mothers to start a sort of a project book on different religions and no religion as well. And actually just build on that year by year as they grow older, add to it to see why they don't believe in the other religions, why they don't believe in no religion, and why they believe in Islam. Because it's really important for each person to understand that and build a relationship with God. Then even if you turn around and tell someone something as simple as, I am covering myself because my Creator told me to, and He only tells me to do what is best for me. Can you see the difference? I don't understand why I'm doing it. I don't need to read so much to find out, as long as I know I'm doing it because that's what's good for me, and I'm doing it out of love for because I know my Creator loves me. So it's again, I'm doing it because God's told me to. Doesn't sound as great as I'm doing it because God is trying to take care of me and He's told me to do this, and I know He's told me for my own benefit. So it's just understanding that little bit more to realize that whatever God tells us to do, it is for our benefit, not for Him. He doesn't need me to worship Him. He doesn't need me to cover myself up. Whatever He's telling me to do is for myself. And once I have that understanding and I actually truly have yaqeen of that, then it makes it much, much more easier to answer questions.
Subhanallah, definitely. And I think a really nice thing is, like, when we are in dialogue with non-Muslims, is just like to kind of really do open up and like not be afraid to open up, because I think a problem with so many individuals today, like, they're kind of afraid to kind of show their passion as such. They're afraid to kind of express their feelings, even women. And, you know, normally us women, we don't have any problem like showing people how we feel normally, but it's like, you know, just like, you know, sitting there and telling them, like, you know, the hijab, it makes me feel confident. You know, when I'm out and about, it's like, you know, I'm not going to be stared at in a lustful way. And when I get home and I take my hijab off and like I'm just chilling, I look at myself in the mirror and I haven't seen my hair all day, and I look at myself and I'm like, damn, I'm looking pretty good today. I'm looking beautiful. Like, it makes you appreciate the craftsmanship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another thing as well is, like, it's kind of bizarre in a way that, you know, people associate the covering of yourself with oppression, Whereas like if you're, you know, you're showing off your hair, you're showing your arms, your legs, like that's the ultimate idea of liberation. Like I don't understand the psychology behind that.
No, not at all. I actually remember reading a book, I can't remember the name of the book now, but it talks about how when the forefathers came to America and how, you know, the natives were naked and how they thought that was very uncivilized, and they taught them about clothing and so forth and everything. And now we've got to a stage where we're being taught to make ourselves naked, and in the name of civilization. How the world has moved around. It's so, you know, at one stage being naked was uncivilized. Now being naked is supposed to be civilized. No, I'm sorry. You know, I'm not going to be told by a man what I should wear and what I shouldn't wear. And I think to be civilized is to have that, it's to know what you want, to make the right choices, not just for yourself, but for the society. That is civilization. You know, when you're uncivilized, the only person that you think about is yourself. It's very much more an animalistic way of living. Whereas, survival of the fittest, almost. Exactly. So, you know, the more civilized you become, the more you care about others, the more you care about society as a whole. And I think, you know, if I am unclothed, it's uncomfortable for others. And you know, it doesn't help society at all. If I'm clothed, that's the norm. And how I clothe myself shouldn't really affect others. It shouldn't make other people feel uncomfortable. It's, you know, it's that concept again that we were talking about, that when a nun is dressed in her outfit where she's fully covered, no one feels uncomfortable. Whereas when a Muslim woman is dressed in her outfit where she's fully covered, it makes them feel uncomfortable. And I think, you know, people need to sort of take a step back and think, why is that? Is it because of the media concept of Islamophobia and what's been taught about Islam, that I associate that dress with Islam and therefore I'm uncomfortable? So it's not the covering that's making me uncomfortable, it's the concept of Islam that's making me feel uncomfortable, and that's because of the way the media has portrayed Islam.
Yes, of course. I remember a few years ago I had the opportunity to go to Rome, and you know, pretty much down every street, like, you would see nuns in their like traditional attire, and like I think that's the why, like, even before I was a Muslim, like I never had a problem with, you know, seeing hijabi ladies, you know, because like another thing as well, like I was brought up and my parents, you know, they said, you know, you respect everybody, don't stare at someone just because they look different, like, because that's inappropriate as such. So it's things like that, you know, like going out in the world, just like observing things, reflecting on things, it just, well, like, it helps us so much, it broadens our minds, and when our minds are broadened, like, I just think we're better individuals. For sure.
And I think that can only happen when you do self-reflect. I think a lot of actions are done reactionary, and that people don't think, they just do it. I mean, the fact that you're pulling off someone's hijab or head veil in order to liberate her, that's you pushing your idea of freedom onto another human being. How is that liberating? It's oppressing someone, because you have an idea of what freedom is, and you're pushing that on someone else who has a totally different idea of what freedom is.
Exactly. I mean, it's just awful to have somebody pull a piece of clothing off you. That's one of the most violent and sickening of things. Like, if there are any non-Muslims that are watching this, by the way, like, I just want you to imagine, like, say you're just wearing a scarf around your neck, like, say it's a bit chilly. Imagine someone coming up to you, getting their hand on your scarf and pulling it off. Like, how that would make you feel. Like, you would just feel violated.
And getting into your personal space, they don't have that right. You know, that's my personal space. You don't have the right to come into my personal space. You don't have the right to put your hands on me at all. That is oppression. When you feel you are stronger than me, when, you know, when there's more of you than me, and you come up to a woman who's on her own and violate her, that how can that be in the name of liberation?
No, there's nothing liberating about it at all. And I suppose, you know, we can't have this conversation of, you know, tearing the veil and oppressing women without discussing al-Masa'ib herself, Sayyidah Zainab alayha salam, you know. What happened for her veil to be taken off her, and how did she react to that? How did that make her feel?
So again, it shows how history repeats itself.
It does.
And you know, these people took the veil off her, forcefully took it off her, and the other ladies of the Ahlul Bayt, in order to show their power, in order to show their sort of supremacy over the Ahlul Bayt.
Yes.
And you know, the thing is, she didn't just sit back and accept it. So again, even if it's governments that are taking, they may not be physically coming up to us and taking our scarves off us, but the fact that they're banning us from wearing our scarves in certain places, they're doing the same sort of thing.
Exactly, just a different method.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's that concept of, I can't just sit back and say, well, okay, they've done that, I don't have, you know, I can't do anything about it. No, you can. You can. You know, being a citizen of that country, you have rights, and you need to stand up for those rights and say, no, this isn't on. And actually, you know, doing whatever needs to be done to show that you're not okay with this. And it's not just Muslims that aren't okay with it, it's non-Muslims who aren't wearing the hijab who think it's totally wrong as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, like actually forming bonds with with people who are actually seeing this is something that is wrong. You're taking away my freedom of choice. You know, we're not living in a country where, you know, we're so proud of being British because of the fact that, you know, we allow people freedom of choice to dress, freedom of choice to say what they want to say, freedom of choice to vote for who they want to do. And slowly that's being taken away in the name of freedom, which makes no sense whatsoever. So again, looking at Bibi Zainab alayhi salam and seeing how she didn't just stand back and okay it. She didn't just say, well, you know, I'll just go into the shadows and there's nothing I can do. No, she stood up and, you know, and stood her ground and thought, this is wrong. Do you know who I am? How can you do this to someone? You know, how can you, you know, in her speech where she said, how can you be okay with your women being covered and the women of the Ahlul Bayt
are not?
How in anyone's mind can that be okay? You know, so it's getting them to again think about your actions, think about what you're doing. How are you okaying this?
Yes, I love talking about Sayyidah Zainab so much. Like it's part of the reason why I chose my Muslim name as Zainab. But it's just the fact is, you know, Sayyidah Zainab, you know, she shows us what it's like to be a woman, you know, to be feminine, to be different to a man as such. But also she shows us that just because you're a woman, it doesn't mean you can't be strong. It doesn't mean you can't be fierce, because you can argue that yes, her father, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, you know, he was Haydar on the battlefield, and, you know, he never struck his opponent first, but his was always the final blow. And you can argue in a very similar way, Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, when she stood in the courts of those tyrants, like she was fighting just like Haydar did.
Yeah, for sure. And it also shows, I mean, there's a beautiful narration which talks about a blind man being in the court of Yazid when Bibi Zainab alayhi salam is giving her khutbah, you know, when she's giving her sermon. And this man turns around and he says, how is it that I hear the words of Ali? And you know, and he couldn't understand it. And when he was told this is his daughter Zainab alayhi salam that is speaking, not Ali alayhi salam, he was like, how can the you know, the woman of Ahlul Bayt, the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, be in the open in the court?
In such a predicament.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you know, and because he made such a fuss, he was actually eventually killed. But it's that concept of, it shows that it, you know, for Imam Ali alayhi salam and Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, there was no difference between their sons and their daughters.
No.
They were both taught, you know, to that concept of what the religion was. All of them had knowledge, all of them had confidence, all of them had courage. Even when she was put in a predicament where her hijab was taken from her, it didn't hold her back. She knew what the right thing was to do, and she stood up and she gave this amazing sermon in front of men, and you know, she had the confidence to do that. So again, you know, we need to ensure that we don't treat our boys and girls differently when we're bringing them up, and actually teach them at the same level and give them the confidence at the same level as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Imam Ali alayhi salam, like, he didn't turn to his children and be like, right, Hassan, Hussein, you're imams, you're the important ones. Zainab and Kulthum, you just got to help them out. No, because actually the role of Sayyidah Zainab and Sayyidah Kulthum alayhim salam, like, those roles were so important. In fact, it was so important that on her deathbed, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, she turns to her two little girls who are absolutely heartbroken at the fact their mother's passing away, and she says to them, attach yourself to your brothers because they need you. They need you by their sides for the struggles that they're going to face. Thank you so much for joining me once again, sister, and I pray inshallah that we can all learn, all of us brothers and sisters, from the courage of our great lady Jabal al-Sabr alayhi salam. My dear viewers, please do stay tuned, as next up we're going to be discussing your fiqh questions and queries inshallah.